Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing 4 cards that will help you stretch all of those holiday supplies. Wait, do not put them up yet. Do not put them in storage because we're going to keep using them all year long. I've pulled out an assortment of my Essentials by Ellen holiday release from the end of 2022, including this cozy Cuppa, Christmastown, the cozy sweater tag, as well as some products from the most recent Valentine's release. But I want to tell you, you don't have to relegate these products to use at certain times of the year. You can use them all year round. Now, I'm also going to be using the Sketchmarker Aqua markers. This is the balloon set. It comes with 36 colors. And I am going to quickly give you an overview of these fabulous watercolor markers. They come in this great little carrying case with some trays. It includes this fabulous color guide. Now, these are all the colors available in the Sketchmarker Aquas. And then you can kind of flip it over and use this as a mini watercolor palette to mix colors on. Now, this is a look at the complete set of 36 markers, which includes 35 colors and 1 blender pen. There is also a water brush in this set, and I have rearranged them to suit me in rainbow order. And I wanted to show you that each of these markers has a high quality brush nib on one end and a fine or bullet nib on the other end. So you have both of the options on each of these markers. Now, I wanted to create my own color palette or color swatch guide here because I feel like sometimes when you put them on the paper that you're using and blend them out with water, it gives you a truer sense of how these colors are going to look. So I keep this little dropper bottle of water in my craft room, and I'm just using it to fill my water brush here. And then I'm going to start scribbling these markers. Now today I am using the Bristol Smooth cardstock. It is a fabulous cardstock for these markers. It kind of has a little more of a coating on it so that the color doesn't seep into where you can't blend it out. So just like with Copic markers or ink blending or even foiling, there are cardstocks that work better for each medium or each technique. And the recommended cardstock for these is definitely Bristol Smooth or something similar to that. And you can see as I wet these colors, they kind of bleed out and create this beautiful watercolor effect. And I'm going to swatch out all of the colors for you, or I'm going to show you all the colors swatched out here so you can get a good idea of the array of colors that's included in this 36 marker set. Now, all in all, there are 72 colors total, and I think that this color palette is really well put together. You've got some great pinks, oranges, yellows, greens. It goes all the way into the grays, and you can see here are all of my colors, and I've gone ahead and labeled them, and at the top of this, I'll just kind of indicate that these are my Sketchmarker Aquas. Now, once I had a good sense of the color range and how these kind of blend out and create those watercolor effects, I picked a few of these to create my own palette, and I will have those listed below, the specific colors that I used in these projects. But I'm going to take this color palette and use it throughout all of my projects today. Now, in addition to creating some beautiful watercolor effects, these actually blend with each other very nicely on the Bristol Smooth cardstock. So you can see I'm moving from one color to the other, and I'm not using water. I'm just overlapping these colors and allowing the colors to blend together. And just from these few markers, I can blend together and get other shades and colors. Just like you would blend through the rainbow, that's what I'm doing here. So I'm allowing things to kind of overlap. I'm cleaning off the nib if it gets a little bit of the other color on the nib, but these blend out really great. And I think that first little W or whatever it is up there, I was just doing kind of a zigzag, is a good representation, but an even better representation is me just scribbling them out on this Bristol Smooth cardstock and kind of blending them into each other. Now, I really like the brush nib on these. They seem nice and sturdy and durable, but they do have some flex in them, so you can get some nice thicks and thins as well. So now that we've had a little look at the Sketchmarker Aquas, let's go ahead and start our projects. I've grabbed a few stamps from various sets that I had pulled out to use today, and I am inking them up in some VersaFine Clair Nocturne Black Pigment ink and stamping them onto the Bristol Smooth cardstock. Now, the reason I decided to use the VersaFine Clair Nocturne Pigment ink is because I want to throw a layer of clear embossing powder over these. That is going to help keep me inside the lines when I do my watercoloring with these Sketchmarker Aquas. So once I've stamped those, I've gone ahead and put a layer of super fine clear embossing powder from Wow over the top, and then I heat set that just to melt the powder. And now I have this great, deep, dark, rich black outline on all of these images. So for this mug, I thought it would be fun to take it, and it would be fun in a solid color as well, but there would be nothing like a rainbow striped mug to get me going in the morning. And so I'm going to use some of the colors that I've picked out here in my palette, and I'm just swiping a little bit of color starting at the left and kind of moving about halfway to 2/3 over across the mug. And then I'm going to take the water brush and just kind of blend these out and create these really beautiful watercolor stripes across this mug. And you can see that as I add the water to the color, it just bleeds out really nicely. I'm using a microfiber cloth to just dab off any excess water or to clean my brush after I'm moving from one color to the other. I don't want to contaminate the next color. So I'm just kind of squeezing out a little bit of extra water, tapping it on that microfiber cloth. And that's really going to keep me from contaminating the next stripe. So I kind of did this and I thought, well, I lost a little bit of the depth on the left side. And so maybe I'll just add a little more color and then blend that out. And I wasn't loving it, so I didn't continue it, but it is definitely something that you can build the color up on with these markers and just kind of blend it out a little bit more. Now I'm going into this mailbox image, which is from the Hello, I Love You stamp set, and I'm adding a little bit of color to the envelopes as well as the mailbox. I have this really beautiful vermilion color, which is kind of a corally red, and I absolutely love this color. If you've been around long, you know I'm a sucker for pinks and corals and greens, and I think this color palette in the Sketchmarker Aquas, it really just suits me because there are all of those colors contained plus more. So now that I've added that little bit of color, I'm going for a really loose watercolor look here. So I'm just kind of taking my water brush and pulling out that color and allowing it to blend into the center of the image. You can see I didn't use much of the marker on this image at all, but I am able to pull it out and create this really beautiful watercolor effect with just a simple water brush. Now keep in mind, there is a blender pen in the set as well, so you could use that if you want to have a little more control over how much water you're using, or you could also use just a damp paintbrush with some water if you're more comfortable with that. Now, occasionally you'll see me tap that water brush on the back of my hand, and what I'm doing there is just really testing out how much water is on the brush so that I make sure that I'm not flooding my image. Now, once I have these colored with those Sketchmarker Aquas and it all blended out, creating these beautiful watercolor effects, I lined up the coordinating dies and I die cut these images using my Gemini Junior. And then I went back and stamped the whipped cream for this mug. I used some of the beige color in the Sketchmarker Aqua to add a little bit of shading to it. I die cut that out and then I slipped it into the slit on the mug. So I've used those Sketchmarker Aquas to kind of color in an image. Now I'm going to use them to stamp. And so what I've done is I've taken and I've used that cozy sweater tag to die cut some Bristol Smooth cardstock. And I'm going to make this a short sleeve t-shirt so that it will go throughout the year. And I am going to actually stamp this heart from the Big Love stamp set onto the front of the t-shirt, but I wanted it to have kind of this tie-dye effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Sketchmarker Aquas and I'm going to color directly on the stamp and then spritz it with a little bit of water and stamp it onto my project. And this is going to give me that tie-dyed, watercolored stamped image effect. It is so much fun. You can see I'm actually mixing a few of the colors directly on the stamp. Don't worry, you're not going to mess anything up. These are a water-based marker, and if you do get a little bit of pink on the yellow or something like that, you can just scribble it off on a piece of scrap paper. and clean off that nib. So once I have the colors on there, I'm just taking a spray bottle of water and spritzing my stamp, just kind of a medium spritz, not too light, not too heavy. You don't want it dripping everywhere. And I'm gonna stamp that down onto my little t-shirt that I created and give it a moment to kind of absorb into the paper. And then when I lifted it up, there was a little spot that had just a little bit of excess water, so I just dabbed that up. Now I wanted the colors to be more intense, so I'm going back in with my Sketchmarker Aquas directly onto the stamp. I'm gonna put more color on there. I'm gonna spritz it again, just a light spritz this time. Stamp it directly in the same place using my Mini Misty. I'm gonna give it just a few seconds to allow some of that color and water to absorb into the paper. And then I'm gonna lift it off, and if there's any areas of kind of mud, I'm just gonna dab those up again. And then I'll heat set that, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment right on top of it. The sentiment that I'm using is the You Are Here sentiment from the Big Love stamp set, and I'm just inking it up again in the VersaFine Clair Nocturne pigment ink and stamping directly on top of that heart. And then I'm going to heat set that to make sure that I don't smudge this pigment ink, but I have this great little sentiment and a little kind of tie-dyed t-shirt, which I think is so fun. Now, I had such a great time stamping with these markers that I thought I would do it again. And so I have the large house image from the Christmastown set, and I am using the green and the blue kind of colors that I pulled out here and scribbling them directly on the stamp. This time, I thought I would experiment with using a baby wipe as my moisture. I got a little more of a mottled look doing it this way. And honestly, if you're going for that look, more power to you. I did not prefer this look, and so I'm not going to throw it away. I'm just going to color my stamp again with the same colors, spritz it with water just like I did before, stamp it in the exact same spot, and I can do that because I'm using my Mini Misty stamping tool. I'm going to give it a second to absorb into the paper, and now I have a really cool kind of variegated colored house here. Now for the roof, I'm just going to use a coral ink to stamp that, and then I'm going to use the coordinating die to die cut that image out. So now that we've colored some stamped images, we've stamped with these markers, I thought I would go ahead and use them to create some backdrops for a couple of these cards that I'm creating today. So once again, just using the Bristol Smooth cardstock, adding a little bit of color and then blending that out to create some soft watercolor backgrounds. This one's going to be for my tie-dye t-shirt, and I kind of wanted that tie-dye look. And because I have a larger surface area here, I'm just gonna use my spray bottle, spritz some water on there, and then just use my brush to kind of push the color around. Now, another thing you could do is wet the paper first and then add the color. That will not hurt the marker. Or you could pick up the color from a palette, like a glass surface or the palette that's included in the Sketchmarker Aqua set, and you could pick up color and add it to a background that way. Now, I did want to mention that you can kind of reactivate these colors once they're dry, and I decided I wanted to smooth out this house just a bit, and so I'm taking my water brush and adding just a little bit of water to this image to kind of smooth out the color on there, and then I'm going to heat set that to make sure that it's nice and dry before I start assembling all of these cards. Now, honestly, I didn't take a lot of time in this video to show you how I assembled the cards because they're all very, very, very simple cards, and I think they're easily reproducible, and I wanted to keep these kind of simple and allow the imagery and the watercolor to really be the star of the show. But for the most part, I'm just taking some foam adhesive, adding some sentiment strips from both the Valentine Vibes and the Positive Vibes stamp set, adhering those onto some linen card bases that I created using the Essentials by Ellen linen cardstock, and finishing them off with a few die-cut hearts and some sparkling clear sequins. So you can see here, I have 4 cards that I've created using holiday products. So before you go and put these away for the year, keep them out because you might be surprised at how many occasions you can use these for. So here's a look at the 4 cards that I created. All of these would be considered holiday or Valentine products, but I've reimagined them to create some great cards to send love, to congratulate someone on a new home, or just to encourage someone to stay strong. And I've added those hearts in because I think hearts are appropriate at any time of the year. So I cannot wait to hear which of these 4 cards is your favorite. I think I definitely have a favorite, but I want to see what you guys think. So let me know in the comments below which of these 4 cards is your favorite. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to the coordinating blog post. I'll have that linked in the YouTube description below as well. Over there, you're going to find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on this YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared here. And if you loved this video, I would love it if you would share it with a friend. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the very end. You know, if you've made it this far, you are one of my favorites. To subscribe to my channel, go ahead and click the button on the left side of the screen. And here's a couple more video tutorials I thought you might enjoy.